Dude, you're going to electrocute yourself, Madison said, her perfectly manicured nails tapping impatiently on the kitchen counter as I hunched over my latest contraption. And then, who's going to take me to Cancun next month? I glanced up, a screwdriver dangling from my mouth, wires sprouting from the half-disassembled toaster oven like metallic spaghetti. Babe, this is important. This could be the breakthrough. Imagine, clean energy, free for everyone, powered by… I paused, searching for the right word. Toast. She rolled her eyes, her perfectly highlighted hair swaying in a gesture of disapproval. Ryan, honey, you've been saying that for, 5 years now? 5 years of toasters, blenders, and that hamster wheel thing. When are you going to get a real job? This is real, Maddie, I insisted, adjusting a particularly precarious wire. This is about changing the world, ending our reliance on fossil fuels, creating a sustainable future. Sustainable? She scoffed. Ryan, sustainable doesn't pay the rent. It doesn't buy designer handbags or those shoes you like. But imagine, I pleaded, my eyes gleaming with the vision of a world powered by clean, limitless energy. A world without pollution, without energy wars, without what, Ryan? She interrupted, her voice sharp. Without a steady income? Without a decent apartment? Without the things that actually matter? Her words stung, a harsh reminder of my less than stellar financial situation. Madison, with her pragmatic view of the world, her focus on the tangible, the material, she just didn't get it. Maddie, this is bigger than us. This is about the future, about leaving a legacy. Legacy? She laughed, a humorless, brittle sound. Ryan, you're living in a fantasy world. A world of science projects and pipe dreams. You need to focus on the here and now, on building a stable life. But what about my dream? I asked, my voice deflating. Dreams don't pay the bills, Ryan, she said, her voice softening with a condescending pity that was worse than her anger. You're a smart guy. You could get a decent job, a corporate job with a future. A future in a cubicle, pushing papers and attending pointless meetings? I shuddered. No thanks. She sighed, her perfectly manicured nails tapping impatiently on the countertop. Ryan, I need more. I need someone who can provide. Someone with ambition, with drive, with a real job. Her words hung in the air, a stark reminder of our diverging paths. Madison, with her materialistic desires, her focus on the conventional markers of success. She just couldn't understand my obsession. This burning desire to find a solution, to make a difference, to change the world. And as I turned back to my toaster oven, the wires buzzing with potential, the dream still burning bright within me, I knew that I was alone in this. Alone in my pursuit of a future that Madison couldn't see, a future powered by clean, limitless energy, a future that I was determined to create. The rain was coming down in sheets, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Madison stood in the doorway, her designer suitcase gleaming under the dim porch light, her face a mask of cold determination. Maddie, please, I pleaded, my voice hoarse. Don't do this. We can work this out. Ryan, she said, her voice flat, devoid of the warmth I used to love. We've been over this. I need more than promises. I need stability, security, a future. But I'm working on it, I insisted, gesturing vaguely towards the garage, where my latest attempt at a self-sustaining generator was taking shape, and hopefully not about to explode. This could be it, Maddie. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for. She scoffed, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arching in disdain. Ryan, that thing is a fire hazard, and a waste of time, and money. Money we don't have, by the way. But Maddie, imagine. I don't want to imagine, Ryan, she interrupted, her voice rising in frustration. I want to live. I want to enjoy the finer things in life. I want someone who can give me those things. And I can't. The question came out as a pathetic whimper. She sighed, the sound heavy with disappointment. Ryan, honey, you're a dreamer, a sweet, idealistic dreamer. But the world doesn't run on dreams. It runs on money, power, connections. And you found that with him? I asked, the bitterness creeping into my voice. She didn't even try to deny it. Mark is successful, driven. He understands how the world works. He can give me the life I deserve. The life you deserve? I echoed, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. And what about the life we were building, the life we dreamed of? Dreams are for children, Ryan, she said, her voice cold, her eyes devoid of any trace of the love I thought we shared. I'm not a child anymore. I need more. And with that, she turned and walked away, her designer heels clicking on the wet pavement, her figure disappearing into the rain-soaked night. I watched her go, the weight of her words crushing my already fragile hope. More, I whispered, the word echoing in the empty doorway. More money, more power, more. Everything I wasn't. Madison had chosen her path, a path paved with ambition and materialism, a path that led away from me, away from our shared dreams, away from everything I believed in. And as the rain continued to fall, washing away the remnants of our shared past, I knew that I was alone. Alone in my pursuit of a future that Madison couldn't see. A future powered by clean, limitless energy. A future that I was now more determined than ever to create. Okay, so maybe drowning my sorrows wasn't the most mature response to getting dumped. But hey, a guy's gotta do what a guy's gotta do. And in my case, that involved a bottle of cheap whiskey, a bag of stale chips, and a trip to my favorite haunt, the abandoned Alexandria power plant. It wasn't exactly the Ritz, but it had a certain charm. The crumbling concrete, the rusted machinery, the faint hum of residual energy. It was like a graveyard of forgotten dreams, a testament to humanity's insatiable hunger for power. And for a guy obsessed with finding a better way, a cleaner way, a less fossil fuel-y way, to power the world, it was a source of both inspiration and frustration. You could have been great, I mumbled, raising my bottle in a toast to the defunct turbines, the silent generators, the ghosts of energy past. You could have powered a city, lit up the night, changed the world. The whiskey was starting to hit me, blurring the edges of my vision, amplifying the echoes of my own self-pity. But no, I continued, my voice thick with bitterness. You're just scrap metal now, forgotten, abandoned, just like me. I stumbled through the maze of corridors, the flashlight on my phone casting eerie shadows on the graffiti-covered walls. This place was my sanctuary, my escape, my personal pity party venue. I'd come here to think, to tinker, to avoid dealing with the real world. And tonight, the real world was a particularly unwelcome guest. Madison, I muttered, the name tasting like betrayal and regret. You just didn't get it. You couldn't see the bigger picture, the potential. I rounded a corner, my foot catching on a loose cable, sending me sprawling onto the dusty concrete floor. Ow! I groaned, rubbing my elbow. That's gonna leave a mark. As I pushed myself up, I noticed something odd. A faint glow emanating from a doorway I'd never noticed before. A doorway that wasn't there before? What the? I mumbled, squinting through the whiskey haze. The glow intensified, pulsating with an eerie rhythm beckoning me closer. Curiosity, fueled by alcohol and a healthy dose of what the hell, propelled me towards the mysterious doorway. As I approached, the air crackled with energy, a strange hum vibrating through the floor and the glow. It intensified, revealing a door, a shimmering, translucent door, pulsating with an otherworldly light. This is not in the blueprints, I muttered, my voice a mix of awe and apprehension. I reached out, my hand trembling, my fingers brushing against the cool, smooth surface. And then I pushed. The door swung open, revealing nothing. Or rather, not nothing. It was everything. A blinding flash of light, a kaleidoscope of colors, a glimpse of something beyond comprehension. And then I was falling. The sensation of falling gave way to something else. A tingling, a buzzing, a sense of displacement that defied gravity and logic. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the sensation stopped. I landed, not with a bone-jarring thud, but with a gentle whoosh on something soft. Like grass? I blinked, my eyes struggling to adjust to to everything. The abandoned power plant, the dusty corridors, the flickering lights, all gone. Replaced by this. Whoa, I breathed, my voice barely a whisper. Imagine a city bathed in sunlight, but a sunlight that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. Buildings that soared into the sky, not as rigid structures, but as fluid, organic forms shimmering with an internal light. Vehicles that glided silently through the air, their movements graceful, their forms defying gravity. People, dressed in clothes that seemed woven from light itself, their faces serene, their movements effortless. This wasn't just the future. This was the future on steroids. The future after it had hit the gym, gotten a makeover, and discovered the secret to unlimited clean energy. I stumbled forward, my senses overwhelmed, my mind reeling. This was impossible, unreal. A hallucination brought on by cheap whiskey and a concussion? Or something else? A young woman, her skin glowing with an internal luminescence, her eyes the color of amethyst, approached me, her smile warm, her voice melodic. "Welcome," she said, her words flowing like liquid silver, "to Lumenia." "Lumenia?" I echoed, my voice hoarse. "What? Where?" "You have found your way to us," she continued, her smile widening. "Through the doorway of potential. We have been expecting you." Expecting me? What the hell was going on? Was I dreaming? Hallucinating? Or had I stumbled into some interdimensional reality show where I was the unwitting contestant? Expecting me? I repeated, my voice trembling. But why? "You seek knowledge," she said, her eyes sparkling with an ancient wisdom. "Knowledge of a future where energy flows freely, where technology serves humanity, where potential is realized." "But how did you—" "We have watched you," she interrupted, her voice gentle. "Watched your struggles, your dreams, your potential. You are the one, Ryan. The one who will bring light to your world." Light to my world? Was she serious? Me? Ryan, the guy who got dumped for a corporate executive? The guy who spent his nights tinkering with broken appliances in an abandoned power plant? "But I'm nobody," I stammered, my self-doubt battling with a growing sense of wonder. "You are the catalyst," she insisted, her voice firm, her eyes filled with conviction. "The spark that will ignite the flame. The one who will change everything." Change everything. The words echoed in my mind, a challenge, a promise, a destiny. I looked around, my gaze sweeping across the impossible cityscape, the advanced technology, the limitless potential. This was it, the answer to my dreams, the solution to the world's energy crisis, the key to a future I had only dared to imagine. And as the young woman, my guide, my fate, led me deeper into the heart of Lumenia, I knew that my life had taken a very unexpected and possibly very extraordinary turn. The heartbreak, the dismissal, the despair, it had all led to this opportunity. This was my chance to prove Madison wrong, to change the world, to become the hero I always dreamed of being. And as I followed her, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement, I knew that this was just the beginning. The story of Ryan, the heartbroken inventor, the guy with the crazy dreams, that story was over. The story of Ryan, the man who would bring light to the world, that story was just beginning. Okay, so overwhelmed was an understatement. Imagine a chimpanzee let loose in the cockpit of a spaceship. That was basically me in Lumenia. Everything was so advanced, so alien, so damn shiny. My guide, Alara, apparently the young woman, had a name, seemed to find my bewildered fascination amusing. It is understandable to be disoriented, she said, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. But you will adapt. You are, after all, a quick study. Quick study? I scoffed, gesturing towards a floating orb that seemed to be generating its own miniature sun. Ilara, I still haven't figured out how to program my VCR. She chuckled, a melodic sound that echoed through the… Well, I wasn't even sure what to call this place. A plaza, a park, a giant bioluminescent terrarium. Your VCR is a relic of a bygone era, she said, her eyes twinkling. Here we have different methods. And different they were. Ilara, bless her patient soul, became my personal tutor in all things futuristic. We explored labs where energy was harnessed from, well, I'm not even sure what. Something to do with harnessing the vibrations of the universe. Or maybe it was the collective consciousness of happy plants. Either way, it made my toaster oven experiments look like a preschool science fair. So, I said, scribbling furiously in my notebook. Yes, I still used a pen and paper, sue me. This quantum harmonic resonator. It basically converts… Alara smiled patiently. It harmonizes the resonant frequencies of the quantum field to generate a self-sustaining energy flow, she explained, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Right, I mumbled, my brain threatening to melt. Of course, harmonizing frequencies, quantum… Got it. I didn't get it, but I wrote it down anyway. Maybe I could Google it later. Then there was the anti-gravity tech. Forget flying cars. These guys had flying everything. Buildings that floated serenely in the sky. Parks that hovered amongst the clouds. Even… wait for it. Flying pets. I kid you not, I saw a dog with wings. A freaking dog with wings. How… I stammered, pointing at a levitating garden that seemed to be defying all known laws of physics. It is a simple matter of manipulating gravitational fields, Alara explained with a casual wave of her hand. By generating a localized anti-gravitational force, we can, well, make things float. Simple? I echoed, my voice cracking. Alara, I can barely keep my houseplants alive. She laughed, the sound like music in this strange, wondrous world. You will learn, Ryan. You have a knack for understanding the impossible. And then there were the power grids. Forget pylons and wires. These guys had… well, I'm not even sure what they had. Something to do with energy conduits and dimensional phasing that made my head spin faster than a turbine in a hurricane. So, I said, squinting at a diagram that looked like a cross between a circuit board and a psychedelic painting, the energy, it just teleports from another dimension? Alara nodded serenely. In essence, yes, we tap into the infinite energy of the multiversal network and channel it to where it is needed. Channel it, I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. Alara, I still get confused by the settings on my microwave. She smiled, her eyes filled with a gentle encouragement. You will learn, Ryan. You have a thirst for knowledge. That is rare. Rare. Maybe. Desperate? Definitely. I was like a kid in a candy store, except the candy was advanced technology that could revolutionize the world, and the store was a futuristic utopia that made Disneyland look like a dusty old carnival. I spent days, weeks, maybe even months. Time seemed to flow differently in Lumenia, absorbing everything I could. I filled notebooks with diagrams, equations, and, well, mostly question marks. I snuck into labs, marveling at the glowing orbs, the humming generators, the everything that made this world tick. I even tried to befriend the winged dog. He wasn't very talkative, but he did appreciate a good scratch behind the ears. And slowly, gradually, miraculously, I started to understand. Not everything, of course, but enough. enough to see the potential, to grasp the principles, to steal the blueprints. Okay, maybe steal is a strong word. More like borrow, without asking. But hey, desperate times call for desperate measures, right? And besides, these guys seemed pretty chill about sharing their knowledge. Maybe it was the universal abundance of clean energy, or maybe it was the fact that they could probably read my mind anyway. Either way, I wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth, or a winged dog for that matter. And as I gathered my notes, my diagrams, my stolen blueprints, I knew that it was time to go back. Back to my world, to my reality, to my destiny. Ilara, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and hope, saw me off at the doorway of potential. "You have a great task ahead of you, Ryan," she said, her voice soft. "But you are not alone. We will be watching, waiting, hoping." "Hoping for what?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Hoping that you will succeed," she said, her smile a beacon of light in the swirling energy of the doorway. "Hoping that you will bring light to your world." And with that, I stepped back through the door, the familiar sensation of falling, of displacement, of transformation, washing over me. And then I was back. The re-entry was disorienting. One minute I was standing in a futuristic utopia. The next I was sprawled on the dusty floor of the abandoned power plant, the smell of rust and damp concrete filling my nostrils. The shimmering doorway was gone, replaced by the graffiti-covered wall I'd stumbled past countless times before. "Just a dream," I muttered, but the notebooks clutched tightly in my hands, filled with equations and diagrams that looked suspiciously like alien hieroglyphics, told a different story. It wasn't a dream. It was knowledge. The knowledge to change the world. The problem was, my lab, aka the cluttered garage behind my apartment, wasn't exactly equipped to handle the intricacies of quantum harmonic resonators and dimensional phasing. My tools consisted of a rusty wrench, some duct tape, and a whole lot of ingenuity. But hey, if I could build a self-sustaining energy source from a toaster oven, I could probably handle this, right? "Okay, Ryan," I said to myself, spreading the notebooks across my workbench. "Time to get to work." The first few weeks were frustrating. Imagine trying to build a spaceship using Lego instructions written in Klingon. That was my life. I spent hours poring over the diagrams, trying to decipher the alien symbols, the complex equations, the everything. My brain ached. My fingers were constantly covered in grease, and my apartment was starting to look like a cross between a mad scientist's lab and a hoarder's paradise. This is impossible," I muttered, throwing a particularly perplexing circuit board against the wall. It bounced. Progress. But even in my frustration, a spark of excitement flickered within me. This wasn't just about building cool gadgets. This was about changing the world, about making a difference, about proving Madison wrong. I started small, focusing on the basics. The energy conduit, the core of the quantum harmonic resonator, the thingamajig that converted ambient energy into usable power. It took weeks of trial and error, of countless failed attempts, of more sparks and explosions than I care to admit. But slowly, gradually, miraculously, it started to take shape. "Eureka!" I yelled one night, startling the neighborhood cats and probably raising a few eyebrows at the local police station. A small, glowing orb sat on my workbench, humming softly, radiating a faint warmth. It wasn't much, but it was something. Proof that the knowledge I had brought back from Lumenia wasn't just theoretical. It was real. It was possible. Emboldened by this small victory, I moved on to the next challenge, the anti-gravity technology. This was trickier, involving complex manipulations of gravitational fields and, stuff I barely understood. But with Alara's cryptic instructions and a whole lot of duct tape, seriously, duct tape is a lifesaver, I managed to create a small levitation device. It wasn't exactly a flying car, but it was enough to make my coffee mug float a few inches above the table, and enough to convince Ben that I wasn't completely insane. "Dude, you're a genius," he exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief as he watched my coffee mug defy gravity. "You're like a real-life Tony Stark." I'm more like a real-life guy who spends way too much time in his garage, I said, with a tired grin. But Ben was right. I was making progress. Slowly, painstakingly, but surely I was recreating the technological marvels of Lumenia. The self-sustaining energy systems, the anti-gravity devices, the everything. It was all starting to come together. The power grids were the biggest challenge. Dimensional phasing, multiversal networks, energy conduits. It was like trying to understand quantum physics while drunk. But even this, the most complex, the most impossible technology, was starting to yield to my relentless tinkering. I spent months in my garage, fueled by caffeine, sheer determination, and the faint hope that maybe, just maybe, I could actually pull this off. I slept on the floor, ate cold pizza, and ignored the increasingly frantic calls from my landlord about the unusual humming coming from my apartment. But it was worth it. Every failed attempt, every frustrating setback, every explosion brought me closer to my goal. Closer to the moment when I could finally show the world what I had discovered, what I had created, what I had, stolen from the future. And as I stood in my cluttered garage, surrounded by wires, circuits, and half-finished inventions, the faint hum of the quantum harmonic resonator filling the air, I knew that I was on the verge of something extraordinary, something revolutionary, something world-changing. The knowledge was there. The technology was almost ready. And I, Ryan, the guy who used to tinker with broken appliances, the guy who got dumped for a corporate executive, the guy who was told he'd never amount to anything. I was about to change everything. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday, or maybe it was a Wednesday. Honestly, I'd lost track of time somewhere between the caffeine-fueled all-nighters and the near-constant threat of electrocution. But there it was, sitting on my workbench, humming softly, radiating a gentle warmth. The prototype. It wasn't much to look at. A jumble of wires, circuits, and salvaged components housed in a repurposed microwave casing. Hey, waste not, want not. But it worked. It actually worked. The energy conduit, the quantum harmonic resonator, the whole damn thing was generating a stable, self-sustaining flow of energy. Holy crap, I breathed, staring at the glowing orb in disbelief. This wasn't just a science project anymore. This was a revolution. The first thing I did, after calling Ben, who promptly accused me of sleep deprivation and suggested I lay off the energy drinks, was test it. I hooked it up to my apartment, bypassing the power grid, watching as the lights flickered, then stabilized, powered by nothing. Well, not nothing. Powered by the quantum freaking field, or whatever Alara had called it. This is insane, I muttered, flipping the light switch on and off, a giddy grin spreading across my face. Free energy, limitless, clean, and, well, mine. But it wasn't enough to just power my apartment. I needed to show the world. I needed to shove it in Madison's perfectly sculpted face. Okay, maybe that wasn't my primary motivation, but it was definitely a bonus. The problem was, who do you call when you've invented a device that could revolutionize the energy industry? The president, Elon Musk, the guys from Mythbusters? They seemed like they'd appreciate a good explosion. I opted for a more local approach. I contacted Dr. Evans, my old physics professor from college, the one who always encouraged my unconventional ideas. "Ryan," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and skepticism. "Is that really you? What have you been up to?" "Oh, I said casually, "just changing the world." "Changing the world," he chuckled. "Last I heard, you were working at a call center." "Yeah, well," I said, "I kind of quit." "Quit? And what are you doing now?" "Oh, just inventing things," I said, trying to downplay the significance of my breakthrough. "Inventing things? Like what?" "Like a self-sustaining energy device," I said, dropping the bomb. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, a hesitant, "Ryan, are you serious?" "Serious as a heart attack," I said, grinning. Want to see it? He did, and he wasn't disappointed. I demonstrated the prototype, explaining the technology, or at least my very limited understanding of it, watching as his initial skepticism gave way to awe. Ryan, he breathed, his eyes wide with wonder. This is incredible, revolutionary. This could change everything. That's the plan, I said, feeling a surge of pride. Dr. Evans, bless his scientific heart, became my champion, my advocate, my publicist. He helped me navigate the world of patents, investors, and, well, the occasional government agency that seemed very interested in my unconventional technology. There were doubters, of course, scientists who scoffed, investors who hesitated, and, well, Madison, who probably rolled her eyes and went back to shopping for designer handbags. But Dr. Evans, with his academic credentials and his unwavering belief in my genius, helped me overcome the initial resistance. I presented the prototype at conferences, demonstrated it in labs, and even gave a TED Talk, which, to be fair, was mostly me rambling about quantum physics and making awkward jokes about toaster ovens. And slowly, gradually, miraculously, the world started to believe. The media dubbed me the energy whisperer, the Tesla of the 21st century, and the guy who made free energy a thing. I wasn't crazy about the last one, but hey, publicity is publicity. Investors clamored for a piece of the action. Governments offered grants and tax breaks, and, well, Madison sent me a friend request on Facebook. I ignored it. But it wasn't about the fame, the fortune, or the satisfaction of proving Madison wrong. It was about the potential, the possibility, the future. A future where energy was abundant, clean, and, well, free. A future where the world wasn't held hostage by fossil fuels, where wars weren't fought over resources, where everyone could finally afford to run their air conditioners without feeling guilty. And as I stood in my lab, which had been upgraded from a cluttered garage to a state-of-the-art facility thanks to a few strategic investments, the hum of the prototype filling the air, I knew that this was just the beginning. The breakthrough was just the first step. The real challenge, the real revolution, the real fun was about to begin. The world changed. Not overnight, not with a dramatic explosion of fireworks and fanfare, though there were a few celebratory explosions, mostly accidental, but slowly, steadily, irrevocably. My little microwave casing prototype had become the cornerstone of a global energy revolution. The quantum harmonic resonator, as it was now officially called, much more impressive than that thing I built in my garage, was everywhere. Homes, businesses, entire cities were powered by it. The old power grids, with their clunky infrastructure and their reliance on fossil fuels, became obsolete, relics of a bygone era. Mr. O'Connell, the CEO of a major energy conglomerate, said to me, his voice dripping with forced politeness. He wasn't thrilled about his company becoming, irrelevant. Your invention has certainly disrupted the market. Disrupted? I chuckled, enjoying his discomfort. I prefer the term revolutionized. And it was a revolution, not just in the energy industry, but in everything. Transportation, manufacturing, even agriculture. Everything was affected by the sudden abundance of clean, cheap energy. Flying cars became a reality, not just a futuristic fantasy. Vertical farms sprouted in urban centers, providing fresh produce to millions. Deserts bloomed, powered by desalination plants running on, you guessed it, quantum harmonic resonators. You've changed the world, Ryan, Ben said to me one day, his voice filled with awe. You've actually done it. We've done it, Ben, I corrected, though I couldn't help the swell of pride that filled my chest. But with great power comes great responsibility, and a whole lot of attention. Governments, corporations, even, let's just say some very important people were suddenly very interested in me. Mr. O'Connell, a stern-faced woman in a crisp suit said to me, her voice radiating authority. We need to discuss global energy distribution. Global energy distribution? I echoed, trying to sound nonchalant, though I was secretly freaking out. This was the Secretary of Energy, for crying out loud. Yes, she said, her eyes narrowed. Your technology, it's game-changing, but it needs to be managed, controlled. We need to ensure equitable access. Equitable access, I repeated, my inner idealist stirring. You mean free energy for everyone? She hesitated, her expression unreadable. Let's just say affordable energy for everyone. Affordable? I scoffed. It should be free. It's practically limitless. We could power the entire planet with, well, with a few more of these. I gestured towards a warehouse filled with humming resonators, each one capable of powering a small city. The negotiations were complicated. Governments wanted control, corporations wanted profit, and I just wanted to make sure everyone had access to clean, affordable energy. It took months of meetings, of compromises, let's just say I learned a lot about the inner workings of global politics, but eventually we reached an agreement. A global consortium was formed, tasked with managing the distribution of energy, ensuring fair access, and, making sure I didn't become too powerful. They weren't entirely successful on that last point. You've become a very influential man, Ryan, Ben said to me one day as we walked through the sprawling campus of my newly established foundation, dedicated to, you guessed it, clean energy research. Influential? I chuckled. I prefer the term responsible. Responsible for, everything, he said, gesturing towards the bustling labs, the state-of-the-art facilities, the empire I had built. And it was an empire, not of territory or armies, but of technology, of innovation, of power. The power to change the world, to shape the future, to make a difference. The call center was a distant memory, a faded snapshot of a life I no longer recognized. The cramped apartment, the ramen noodles, the everything. It all felt like a dream, a bad dream. And Madison, she was a ghost from that past life, a reminder of the man I used to be. But that man was gone, replaced by someone different, stronger, smarter, more powerful. And as I stood in my office, overlooking the sprawling campus, the hum of the resonators filling the air, I couldn't help but smile. The transformation was complete. Ryan, the guy who used to tinker with broken appliances, the guy who got dumped for a corporate executive, the guy who was told he'd never amount to anything. He was gone. In his place stood Ryan, the Energy Lord, and he was just getting started. The cathedral was a spectacle of opulence. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, illuminating the meticulously arranged floral displays and the impeccably dressed guests. The air hummed with hushed conversations, a symphony of admiration and envy. Today was my wedding day. I stood at the altar, a tailored suit fitting me like a second skin. My expression, let's just say I was trying to look appropriately joyful. My bride, Anya, a brilliant astrophysicist I'd met at a conference on, you guessed it, sustainable energy, was radiant. She was everything Madison wasn't. Intelligent, driven, passionate about changing the world, and, she actually understood what I was talking about when I rambled about quantum physics. But even as I exchanged vows with Anya, a part of me was aware of a presence beyond the cathedral doors, a flicker in the periphery of my vision, a ghost from my past. Madison. She stood amongst the crowd of onlookers, a sea of faces separated from the privileged few, inside by a velvet rope and a phalanx of security guards. I hadn't invited her, of course. She hadn't even tried to contact me. But I knew she would be there, drawn by the spectacle, the curiosity, the regret. I caught her eye briefly, a fleeting moment of connection across the divide. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with a mixture of longing, regret, and despair. She had aged in the years since I'd last seen her, the lines of worry and disappointment etched on her face, a stark contrast to the youthful glow she had possessed when she was by my side. I looked away, focusing on Anya, on the vows I was making, on the future we were building together. But Madison's presence lingered, a shadow on my otherwise perfect day. Later, during the reception, a lavish affair held in the gardens of my estate. Yes, I had a ridiculously large estate now. I saw her again. She was standing near the edge of the property, separated from the celebration by a high wall and a team of security personnel. She was dressed in a simple, almost dowdy dress, a far cry from the designer gowns she used to favor. She looked lost, small, insignificant. I watched her from a distance. My heart, well, I wasn't sure what I felt. Pity, sympathy, a flicker of something that I couldn't quite name. But it wasn't love. That was gone, extinguished by her betrayal, her dismissal, her choice. I saw her look at the guests, the titans of industry, the global leaders, the people who now populated my world. She saw the laughter, the celebration, the success. She saw the life she could have had, the future she had rejected. And I knew in that moment that she understood. She understood the magnitude of her mistake, the depth of her regret, the finality of her rejection. She understood that the man she had left behind, the dreamer she had dismissed, had become the man she now craved. But it was too late. The door was closed. The opportunity was lost. I saw a tear roll down her cheek, a single glistening drop that reflected the lights of the party, the joy of the celebration, the life she would never have. And in that moment, I felt a pang of something that I couldn't quite define. Sadness? Perhaps? But it was a distant sadness, a muted echo of a pain that had long since faded. I turned away, focusing on Anya, on our guests, on the celebration. But Madison's presence lingered, a reminder of my past, a testament to my transformation, a ghost that would forever haunt my memories. Later, as the fireworks lit up the night sky, a dazzling display of color and light, I saw her one last time. She was walking away, her figure silhouetted against the backdrop of the festivities, her shoulders slumped, her head bowed. She was disappearing into the darkness, leaving behind the world she had once craved, the life she could have had, the man she had lost. And as I watched her go, I knew that this was the end, the final chapter in our story, the finality of her rejection, the permanence of her loss, the closure I had finally achieved. I turned back to Anya, her face radiant with happiness, her eyes sparkling with love. And as I took her hand, I knew that I had made the right choice. I had found my future, my happiness, my destiny. And it wasn't with Madison. It was with Anya. And as the fireworks exploded above us, a symphony of light and sound, I knew that I had finally let go of the past. I had forgiven. I had moved on. And I had won.